And a very good afternoon. Welcome to Issues and Attitudes. My name is Jeff Owens, interim GM at WEIU TV and Radio. And making her initial appearance today is Illinois State Trooper Tracy Lillard. Welcome, Tracy.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
And we found out that Buzzard is a building, not an avenue.
Correct. So when you think that Buzzard Avenue does not exist here in Charleston, Illinois.
So you just blame me for sending the wrong thing. It's all good.
No, that's funny.
Well, appreciate you coming in. It's kind of it's apropos time. We're heading into Memorial Day weekend, summer driving season. Kids are coming back and forth to college and high school graduation. Everything is going on. So just talk about, as we begin summer driving season, what it means to you from the Illinois State Police's point of view and what we should be doing more correctly.
Okay, great. So on my way down here, actually, from Pasodum just now, I was playing the little license plate game on the interstate. I saw Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Maryland. So, we have a lot of out-of-state travelers up and down our roadways, and a lot of times the motorists from out of state get a little impatient here in Illinois because there's not a whole lot to look at out here on our roadways. It's just, cornfields and bean fields, and people get very impatient when they're traveling. They start to speed. And I think one of the main things that I want to talk to the listeners about is what we call our fatal four. It's the top 4 reasons people die in car accidents. And so if we can avoid those 4 things, you have a higher risk or a higher chance of obviously surviving your drive. And so the number 1 reason that people die in car accidents is speeding. The second one is driving under the influence. We'll talk about that here in a second a little bit more in depth because I just talked to a trooper this morning. Fascinating information this morning. And then obviously not wearing your seatbelt and then distracted driving. So those are the 4 main things that we focus on. So going into Memorial Day weekend, I want to make sure you guys are as safe as you can be because you're not traveling on the roadways by yourself. You're actually out there with lots.
Talk about what you just learned from the trooper about the impaired driving.
Sure. So the trooper this morning, I pulled into headquarters there in Pasodum, and one of the troopers that works on day shift was filling out some reports. And I said, what do you got? What'd you have this weekend? And he says, well, I had a illegal possession of cannabis, but then he started talking about that. But what was more fascinating to me was the meth arrest that he had, which the driver was operating a commercial motor vehicle. And so the commercial motor vehicle at 7:41 in the morning.
7:41 in the morning.
7:41 in the morning was operating under the influence of methamphetamine, but he also had possession of methamphetamine in the vehicle. And so my biggest thing that I want to explain to other motorists is you might be a great driver. It's not about you. It's about who you're sharing the road with. And these people that are out there that are under the influence, they're impaired by not only drugs and alcohol, but their focus is down. They're looking at their lap. And I'm telling you right now, they're not looking to see if their zipper's zipped. They're looking at their phone. I mean, there's no hiding it. Anytime that you as a motorist pull up to an intersection and look around, everybody's got their head down and they're looking at their phones. It's still illegal to look at your phone at a stoplight or a stop sign. And these people are driving on our interstates, watching movies. They're the stuff that if you would see what we saw out there, you would be like, I am never driving out here again. And they're doing it right in front of a marked squad car. But I think that trooper this morning that explained that to me, he says, Tracy, it's so scary that these people are out on our roads and they're driving in the car or in the commercial motor vehicle right next to us. We had a commercial motor vehicle 3.5 times the legal limit of alcohol in an 80,000-pound vehicle.
And a lot of these are happening during the day, which is even scary.
Daytime. Yeah. That one in particular was at 2:00 in the afternoon. We've had DUIs through. It's not the old Saturday night. Watch out. It's daytime on a Monday morning. So,
and you just scared a lot of people that have kids getting ready to graduate with that are getting their license for the first time.
Yes, and new drivers, that's concerning. And we just had a school bus crash not too long ago out here in the area. So,
our Narcola, just last week.
Yes. So it's really, there's going to be a lot of kids out there, a lot of kids walking around, and we just want to make sure that people are aware, especially as summer rolls in.
The other thing that's hit the state of Illinois and really nationwide is there's just been so many unfortunate trooper either deaths or injuries on the roadways as we head into with construction and a holiday weekend coming up. Talk about what people should be doing, and obviously we all know shouldn't be on their phone and stuff, but just what the law and the ramifications of an accident mean.
Sure. So Scott's Law is the name that they have titled it here in Illinois. It's the move over law. It's the same in every state. As a motorist, if you see flashing lights on the side of the road, you're required to pull over into the adjacent lane and slow down. And if you're unable to pull over, so the first thing we want you to do is to slow down.
Left lane usually.
And to get to the left lane. If you can't get to the left lane, then we want to obviously slow down. There's not a speed limit that's specified with that. It's just due caution. You're supposed to, yes. So I had somebody say, well, if I was going 97 and I slow down to 96, I'm like, well, you're not supposed to be going 97. So you're supposed to move into the opposite lane. We have had 16 troopers, squad cars hit this year. 2 lives have been lost.
Is that just in Illinois?
Just in Illinois.
Wow.
I know Minnesota's last 2 months ago, they were already at 28 in Minnesota. So it's happening across the country. It's not just in Illinois. What is the cause? Is it daytime? Is it nighttime? Is it drunk drivers? Is it, tired drivers? There's no one pinpointed thing that we can point it to. Inattention, I think, is the biggest thing. So if you're watching up ahead, you need to make sure that you're watching for those lights. And in Illinois, that law also includes stranded motorists. So what does that mean? That means if you're out there on the side of the interstate and you got a flat tire, nobody wants a flat tire. Nobody wants that. If you're out there with a flat tire and you're waiting for road service, if you have your hazard lights activated, motorists that are coming up behind you are required by law to pull to the adjacent lane. Tow trucks, ambulances, fire trucks. It doesn't matter if it's just
any distress, basically, in the
correct.
Yeah.
And it's common sense. It really is. It's common sense. If you see somebody out there, just imagine if that was you or your child or your grandparent out there. So we want you to move over. So the state police has really been hitting it hard. I know we were at 2,500 citations already as of May 13th or May 12th was the last time I did a number count. And the year before we were at 339. So we have 6 or 7 times the amount of enforcement, which it's needed. It's obviousment needed. And
it's sad, but it's needed. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think I think people are really catching on though, because the more I see, I absolutely. One of the biggest things, though, is just those out-of-state travelers, and we want to make sure it's a law in their state, too, so they should know better. But our guys are out there. They might be helping with somebody. We just had 2 troopers pulled over in Chicago a couple weeks ago on a traffic stop, and somebody approached them, came up running behind them, and said, please help us. The lady was delivering a baby in the back seat.
Holy cow.
So they helped deliver a child on the side of the road, and the whole time their focus is on that child, not the motorists that are screaming past them at 70, 80 miles an hour. So anytime that you see a motorist or anybody pulled over, please scoot over to the adjacent lane.
And if you can, is it okay to get in the right, pull over onto to the shoulder and just stop until traffic clears? I mean, if it's really, really packed, what's the rule there?
No, we don't want you to pull over the shoulder, because what would happen if you're on an interstate, for instance, if you're on the interstate and it's just congested and you're not able to move over to the left lane, if we're all parked on the right shoulder, stay inside your lane. Stay in your lane. Don't pull to the shoulder, because what happens is our eyes are watching that shoulder, and if we start seeing people pulling onto the shoulder, that could cause an absolute catastrophe.
So just slow down if you can't get over.
If you can't get over, just slow down and stay within your lane, and then proceed with caution. That's a great question.
Okay, well, that's why I'm here. I got a great question.
He's like, I'm going to get these.
I got one good today, so I can go home now. Now, obviously, everyone in the world has a cell phone now, from the 12-year-olds to the 82-year-olds.
Yes.
Is there a way that we can stop cell phone use in a car where people aren't texting and driving or talking? I mean, I know you can talk hands-free, which isn't as bad, but it seems like everywhere you go, you can see somebody on their phone.
Yes. I mean, it's funny that you say 12 to 82. We've had troopers writing 16-year-olds, and we've had troopers writing 86-year-olds. It doesn't matter how old you are. You should know what the rule is. One of the things that I do inside, because I'm a grown adult too. I have a phone in my car. Matter of fact, I have 2 phones. I set mine to the do not disturb. It's a very simple fix. You can set it to do not disturb, turn the ringer off, and while you're traveling, that phone will reply. If somebody texts you, that phone will reply automatically, because it senses that your car's in motion.
That's what mine is too.
And it's a real easy fix, and you don't have that tempting of the phone ringing. If you can set that to off, I don't want you to necessarily turn your phone all the way off, because if there is an emergency and you need to call 911, I want you to be able to grab your phone and dial 911. But if you can set your ringer to off, and if you're a parent of a new driver, I know that I've had a lot of friends who said, I've got kids that are driving now, and it's just terrifying me, and I'm not scared of their ability. I'm scared of the people they're sharing the road with. And so if you can focus on that drive and watch what's going on. I don't know about everybody else, but I sure love doing the old country drive and just looking at the crops and watching the sunset and paying attention, because you can enjoy the music. You can enjoy.
I heard somebody say, we're on our phones 24/7 anyway, so if you're driving for 45 minutes, it's a nice respite.
Absolutely.
Listen to the radio. Turn it up loud and just enjoy the drive
Yes.
and pay attention.
Correct.
The other thing I want to talk a little bit about, I know it's probably not totally in what you do, but Lyft and Uber safety has also become a nationwide concern about people getting rides. Those people are on the roadways. I mean, have you guys talked in the Illinois State Police about how people can make sure that if they're getting a ride from somebody, it's safe? I mean, how is that?
That's a great question. I don't know a whole lot about Lyft and Uber services other than I do know that I think our DUI arrests are going down because of more and more people are actually
more aware of it for sure.
Correct. And I think more people are using rideshare services in order to get home safely. The whole part about knowing whether or not that particular driver is a safe driver, I don't know all the particulars on how you can measure. Is there like a review for a particular driver? I have no idea how that works. But anytime you're in a rideshare service vehicle, buckle your seatbelt, be aware. And if you see that driver is grabbing his phone, say something, because your safety is at your
his peril or her peril.
Correct. I mean, same with a limo driver or anything with charter bus.
The other thing I was asked to ask you about, because this has kind of come up, and it's more of an in-town thing, maybe as well, and you said we could talk about anything. So
oh boy, I'm worried that I'm not going to be able to have the right answer.
Well, and I don't know either, because it's one of those things that's been Facebook has been talking about a little bit, but these new bicycles with motors.
Okay.
Have you what I'm talking about?
I've seen them. I know what you're talking about, but I don't know.
We have a lot of them, it seems like, in Coles County, or maybe I pay attention, and they seem to be like using bike laws, even though they are a motorized vehicle, and they don't always stop at stop signs and stoplights. So I would assume that they would have to.
Yes.
If they have a motor, shouldn't they have to apply by the regular rules?
Yes, they have to apply by. Yes, the answer, and I don't know a whole lot about those things, but I do know that they still have to abide by. Well, even bicycles have to abide by the stop sign.
And these guys just zip through.
We see a lot of bicycle up in the Champaign County area. There's a lot of bicycle violations because people think that they have the right of way because they're on a bicycle. That's not the case. They still have to abide by the same traffic rules if they're sharing the road. So that's a great question. But no, they are not allowed to just zip through or use the bike lanes.
Thank you. So we can solve that. We've solved that problem. See?
One of the other things you mentioned was construction zones.
Yeah, I want to get into. Yeah, let's talk about that.
We had a construction zone crash. A flagger got struck in another county up in another district, actually up near LaSalle, Peru. And the flagger was holding the stop sign, and it ended up being an 86-year-old driver that struck him in the construction zone. But those flaggers are just, they're standing there. They're there to warn, traffic to slow down. They manually have to flip it, especially if it's a 2-lane road and you have to shut down one of the lanes. But those guys and girls out there that are working, it's extremely dangerous. And
they are sitting. I've always talked. Yeah, you thought they're sitting ducks.
Yes.
And it's talk about not a boring job, but a job where you just. I mean, it's not a lot of it, but you got to be terrified at some point.
Absolutely. I always say I would never be that person, because it's terrifying to be standing out there like that, and to hope that people are, mindful and watching the road, but. Construction zones, one of the other things I want to throw in there. I know you want to go to break, but...
No, we're good to go. One of the things that I think works for your construction zones that the City of Illinois has done is that sign, 14 years in jail.
Oh, yeah.
To hit, I mean, that should make, if that doesn't make you pay attention, what would, right?
Yes, and the construction zone, one of the biggest misconceptions is if the worker is not there, then the speed limit, why is the speed limit still 45? Why is the speed limit down to 55 if there's no workers out there? The reason that IDOT, and I'm speaking on IDOT's behalf because I have talked with IDOT quite a bit about this.
Yep.
They have, it's called a Q area, which is that 3-mile stretch before that zone starts. They want to let you know, hey, there's a road construction coming up. Hey, you're going up. That orange sign is the same color in every state. It says construction. But the reason that they do 45, whether or not the workers are present, is not because it's a worker safety issue, it's for the motorist safety. And a lot of times our construction zone fatalities involve the motorists that are traveling through. It's not necessarily the worker. Worker's not even there anymore. It's in the middle of the night. But the thing is they've reduced that lane width.
Yeah.
They've tapered it. They've got barricades up. They've got lane, what is that called, where the lane difference, it might be an asphalt issue where 2 inches, you could easily, we've had motorcycles crash because they flipped over in a construction zone. It's not because the worker is there or not there. That's That's regardless.
Yeah.
It's because that motorist, we want you to be safe in there.
In your district, this summer, will there be a lot of construction? Do you know some places that we can be on the lookout as we move forward?
Well, just today on the way down here, I noticed northbound didn't have an actual zone set up, but they had the five trucks leading up to it, trying to get that lane tapered down because they were doing striping, painting. So those temporary projects, there's going to be a lot of those. But I think the main one is up there in the Champaign. I think there's one up in the Champaign area. And I don't know about the rest of the projects. Usually once they're set up, then we can, do a lot of stress, about, hey, here's where it's at. But please, please, please be attentive out there on the construction zone areas and be mindful. We're catching people in the 95s and 100s in a construction zone.
How much is that ticket?
Well, that's what the judge decides. That's a go to jail. That's a go to jail speed.
Just tuning in. We're talking to Illinois State Trooper Tracy Lillard today about safety as we head into Memorial Weekend, and really not just Memorial Day weekend. It's the entire summer driving season really kicks off as spring hopefully is finally here in Central Illinois. What are other laws that maybe Illinois motorists are not getting correctly? And just tell us what we're doing wrong out there. Then maybe give us some tips to help us.
Sure. We stress it all the time. Is that left lane law? Stay out of the left lane unless you absolutely have to be in there. That left lane on an interstate is for passing. I don't understand how people don't know this. I feel like I learned it in driver's ed, but maybe it was long ago. So the right lane is the driving lane. The left lane is the passing lane. So on an interstate, you're required to be in the right lane if you're driving down the roadway, especially if somebody is coming up behind you. So if you're hanging out in the left lane and you're like, well, by golly, I'm going to drive the speed limit and I'm not going to let anybody pass me. You are not a law enforcement officer. You are not supposed to be hanging out trying to enforce the laws in your, Geo Prism or whatever you're driving. So in that left lane, if traffic starts to back up behind you, the ticket that we can issue for that is impeding traffic in the left lane. So illegal use of the left lane.
Yeah.
A lot of times motorists will say, well, I never see the cops pulling people over for that. I never see the cops pulling people over for not using your turn signals. We pull people over for this stuff all the time. We just don't necessarily publicize it. So I think the left lane, the other one is the improper passing. It's so dangerous. It's also illegal to pass at an intersection. It is illegal to pass a vehicle at an intersection, especially a rural intersection. Yeah. So please, please, please be mindful of intersections. Left lane, I think the headlight thing is one of the main things that we stress too. And the headlight in inclement weather, a lot of people, this is what I've determined, this is the Trooper Tracy explanation of this, because I have talked to a lot of motorists. I'll stand at a street corner and I'll be like, like yell into the window, like, turn your headlights on. And people look at me like I have, like I'm from another planet because they think that their lights are on. They have it set to automatic. Yeah. Automatic does not work in rain. It does not work in fog. It does not work in...
And lights are supposed to be on in rain and fog now, correctly?
Correct.
Yes.
And so people are in they're in that mindset that they just hop in the car. They had left their car on automatic setting and they think that that's what's best. Well, that's great for your daytime running lights. But when you leave it on that setting and you pull out of your drive, your dashboard lights will light up, but you don't necessarily have headlights. And now you also don't have tail lights. Why is this a problem? Because it seems like 7 out of 10 vehicles don't have their headlights on in the rain.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So I think that's driver or operator error. And it's a $120 ticket. And people, excuse me, I think people will say, well, why don't you stop
Take a
people
quick drink if you
that?
want.
If you're not paying attention to what your headlights are doing, then you're not necessarily watching out for your safety.
If you're just tuning in again, we're talking to Illinois State Trooper Tracy Lillard, and she's taking a quick drink because she's been talking more. This has been great.
Sorry,
I just get to step back. I just get to step back. The other thing, I jokingly say this, but turn signals, they're on a car for a reason, right?
They're free. They come free with your car.
In Coles County, by the way, people here just refuse to use them, and it drives me nuts.
It drives me nuts, too. And I find myself turning my turn signal on just to pull into my garage. Like, I turn my turn signal on all the time. And it's to warn motorists that you're moving a $2,000 or 2,000-pound vehicle left or right. Right, and just because your turn signal on doesn't mean you automatically get a shoot over in the lane. You have to wait until it's safe to do so.
We laugh, but I'm glad you said that because
it's ridiculous. In and out, and here's the other thing. I don't know how to explain this. People think that the troopers only pull people over for speeding, and that is so incorrect. My husband is also a state trooper, and he'll come home at the end of the day, and I'll say, well, what'd you stop today? And he's like, well, you know what? Today I hit the following 2 closelies. And I said, what do you mean? He's like, every single car. He says, I don't wait for them to speed. I just pull over the people that are tailgating, or I'll pull over the people that aren't using their turn signals. Like every single day, we could just throw caution to the wind and be like, what are we going to pull over today? Because we're going to find those traffic violations.
Yep.
And the thing is that turn signal, maybe we'll pull you over for it and give you a warning. Maybe we'll get up there and we'll see that you already have a warning for it before. So now it's a ticket. Because I'm not going to write you 2 warnings if you've already had a warning for it. But also that could lead to other things. That could lead to a suspended driver. That could lead to a drunk driver. That could lead to somebody that's got a warrant for their arrest. Speaking of warrants, one of the troopers the other day, I pulled up behind him and I said, how you doing? He says, I'm good. I got a suspended driver. He's cooperating. And I was like, all right. So he finishes that traffic stop. He goes on down the road, and there's a disabled vehicle on the side of the road. Lady's broke down. He goes up, checks her driver's license. Well, lo and behold, she's suspended, and she has a warrant for her arrest out of the adjacent county. The warrant was issued that day. She failed to appear in court. So, our guys are finding stuff just on checking on people if they're stranded. So.
I'm glad you said that, because I also want to talk about kind of the other side of that. If you are being pulled over from a state trooper or a police person, a law enforcement officer, what is the absolute best way to interact? Because it is
that's a great question.
Because you are scared when you get pulled over, no matter even if you know you've done nothing wrong, you're scared to death when you're in that car, and you guys are scared to death coming up on them on some of the stuff that's happened. So what's the best way for that person to act?
That's a great question. There's a lot of people that have never been pulled over ever in their life, and that's fantastic, or you're just really lucky.
I'll tell you my story.
When you get pulled over, the biggest thing that I want to tell you as a police officer is we want to see where your hands are at. And so, put your turn signal on, pull to a safe place. If you feel like, I'm out in the middle of nowhere and I don't feel safe out here, turn your hazard lights on and acknowledge that you're being stopped, and then proceed into town. That's perfectly fine. You can do that. When you're in your car, though, go ahead and turn your dome light on if it's at nighttime. Have your hands up on the steering wheel so I can watch where your hands are at. Roll your windows down. That's another thing. A lot of people have tinted windows. Go ahead and roll those windows down. Anything that we can see that driver's action or the passenger's action, that gives us a little bit more mobility, just to be able to see what's going on. A lot of times we approach from the passenger side. So we're going to have that big old bright light in your eyeballs. It's for a reason. We want to see inside that car. So one of the main things is keep your hands on the vehicle, keep your hands on the steering wheel, and then also stay inside your car. We've had a lot of people that hop out because they think, well, I better go back there to that police officer so he doesn't have to get out, out of his car. No. Stay inside your vehicle. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. Sometimes we haven't even decided what the enforcement action is going to be. Maybe we just came up there to tell you that your brake lights aren't working,
Yeah.
And you're sitting there terrified out of your mind. Stay inside the vehicle. That's when I would say, driver's license.
Keep the seatbelt on.
Keep your seatbelt on. If your documents are in your say your documents, let's say I pull you over. I walk up to your car and you're like, oh shoot, my driver's license is in my coat pockets in the back seat of the car. Leave it there. Don't dig for it. You start digging for it, I think you're digging for a weapon.
I understand.
Your glove box has your insurance card. So does everybody else's. And throw away the old ones. I don't need 17 old ones in there with it. But if I walk up to your car and you know that it's in your glove box, leave it there. And then when I get up to the window, that's when you would say, you know what, my driver's license is in my back pocket, or my driver's license is in my back seat. My insurance card's in my glove box. Do you mind if I reach for it? These are the kind of things that any furtive movement, even if you're just Joe Schmo that's driving down the road and you have your brake light out, I don't know who you are. So stay inside your vehicle. Be polite. That's another thing. That's a great tip. Be polite. We're not going to do kangaroo court. That's what the courtroom is for.
Yep.
It's not a courtroom on the side of the road. Everything's audio and videotaped, so we have record of all of the conversation that takes place on the side of the road. We don't have body cams, but we have audio and video of each.
Do you feel better with having the audio and video on? I've heard people both sides of that.
Yeah, me personally, yes. I've had audio video for the last probably 12 or 15 years. I didn't have it when I worked up in the Chicagoland area, which I guess, neither here nor there, everything was fine. But down here, I feel like the biggest thing for me is if I give somebody an instruction, if I tell somebody to get back in your car, if I tell somebody, drop what's in your hands, there's audio of that, there's video of that, and I think that has helped. I also think that people know that the state troopers we work by ourselves. We're out there by ourselves. And I think that audio and video has been a great benefit for us.
Now, conversely, people have also been audio and videotaping you with their cell phone.
Sure, let them. That's
okay.
fine. And the
no
thing. I've never personally been videotaped, at least that I know of. Nothing's ever come up. But the problem is it would become an obstruction at some point if we're trying to handcuff you and you refuse to put your phone down, or blah blah blah. So there's been stories like that have happened, but it's for our safety. It's for our safety. We videotape you when you're in the car with us. We have a camera that flips around, and now it's videotaping you in our front seat or in our cage. So
we got a couple minutes left with Trooper Tracy.
Time flies, huh?
It does. It's good. I mean, this is all good stuff, and I think it's apropos as we head in again. We've been talking about driving season, Memorial Day, 4th of July is coming up. Anything that we forgot that you want to get out today?
I really want to stress wearing your seatbelt, and especially if you're going to be on a long trip. A lot of times, parents will let their kids climb in the back seat and just lay across that back seat and stretch out. Stay seated. Stay with that seatbelt on properly. We have seen far too many crashes where it's just easy. If they would have had their seatbelt on, they would have lived. And that's as simple as that. If your car rolls over, even at 70, 80 miles an hour on the interstate, that car is a shell. It's like it's going to protect you. But if you don't have your seatbelt on, typically in a rollover, your airbag will not deploy, and that's because of the sensor. The only form of protection at that point is your seatbelt, and I can't stress it enough that seatbelts will save your life. Watch for motorcycles when you're traveling out there. Motorcyclists I've heard a lot of people say that they stopped riding motorcycles because they're so scared of the other traffic that they're sharing the road with. So please be vigilant, watch for them. And
farmers right now as well.
Farmers. My dad's a farmer. My brother's a farmer. I mean, everybody in my family's a farmer, and those slow-moving vehicle emblems are out there for a reason. It's to tell you that their sprayer cannot drive 70 miles an hour. So please be careful and don't try to pass them if it's not safe.
About a minute left or so. Ever get a speeding ticket? Have you ever got a speeding ticket?
I have had a speeding ticket. Matter of fact, I actually had to go to the traffic safety school.
Really?
Yes. That was back when I was in college. I got 2 speeding tickets.
What's the fastest you've ever pulled anybody over for going?
Sure, that's a great question. My fastest record for a speeder was 144 miles an hour in a 65. The fastest on record is here in Coles County in our district, and it was 161 in a 55 on a country road with the corn up. So please, 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 it's not about you. Just remember, it's not about you. It's these are the people you're sharing the road with.
All right. If anybody would like to contact you or get a hold of anybody at the Illinois State Police, what's the best way to do it if they have more, they want you to come to a class or do something? Because I know you do a lot of public appearances.
Sure. It's Tracy.Lillard, Lillard, at Illinois.gov. I also have Facebook. I run all the social media for the entire state police, so you can contact me that way.
You've kind of become famous in a way. How do you deal with that? Do you like it?
I think it's hilarious that my kids are like, "Oh, Mom, there's more people that want to take a picture with you." I think it's so funny because I'm still just Tracy. Yeah, I'm just Tracy, the farm kid.
There you go. Well, we appreciate you coming in today and making your trip to Charleston.
Sure.
Hopefully our listeners and viewers have enjoyed it, and I wish you nothing but the best of it. Have a great summer.
Thanks, you too.
We are WEIU. Everybody have a great day.